Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Then check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something to inspire you. That's deal2healteas.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to deal2healteas.com. Again, that's deal2healteas.com. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Ernest James. Hey guys, this is Ernest James, host of the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. And I got a question to ask you. Could you buy me a cheeseburger? Better yet, could you buy me a value meal? Yes? Well, guess what? I don't need a value meal. However, for the cost of a value meal, you can support this podcast to keep us on the air. Just go to Patreon/Deal to Heal podcast and choose any one of the 3 tiers that's available. And if you just want to make a one-time donation, go to Cash App and make a donation to $E James, the number 418. Make a one-time donation to the Cash App, or again, go to Patreon to support this podcast and keep us on the air. Thanks in advance. Be blessed. Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Hey, welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is healed, whole, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Make sure that you listen, subscribe, and share our podcast. Make sure you guys are following us on all of our podcast listening platforms. All right. Also, make sure that you guys subscribe to our new YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. That is our new YouTube channel where we turned our channel from just a podcast channel with just our podcast, but now we also have several other podcasts that you can find that's a part of our network, including our sister podcast, the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James, as well as a new podcast called the Earn and Earth podcast, which I do with my brother. And we also have the Faith Walk and Love Talk podcast, which is a Bible study podcast that is hosted by my sister, Gina Brooks. So make sure you guys go to our YouTube channel, the new YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network channel. Make sure you guys go and check that out, right? And if you ever thought about starting your own podcast, make sure you guys get your copy of the ebook, Start Your Podcast Now. You can go to ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com to get your copy of the ebook, Start Your Podcast Now, in only 3 steps, where I teach you how to start your podcast in only 3 steps. So you guys can go there. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. And there's also some other ebooks that are there that you guys can find. And last but not least, but I'm going to tell you guys how you can win $100 from the podcast. But you got to stay until the end of the episode in order to get that information. All right. So today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Mr. David Kitchen. How you doing, sir?
Man, what's up, big dog? I'm excited to be here, brother.
Man, first of all, let me say thank you for being here, because you could have been doing anything else with anyone else, but you're here with me and my listeners, and we definitely appreciate it. And so we're going to jump right in it, David. Do me a favor, introduce yourself to my listeners, tell them who you are, and a little bit about what you do.
For sure, brother. Man, so as you said, my name's David Kitchen. Everybody calls me Kitch or Coach Kitch. I don't think anybody's left that calls me David except my mother when I'm in trouble. So I try and avoid the government name. She hits me with that once in a while, but I try and stay away from it. But yeah, man, I'm the founder and president of Edge Leadership Academy, and what we do and what I do as a company is we arm people with the skills that it takes to be a leader, right? And so that could be in their family, in their business, in their own life, in their community, in their faith community, etc. The world needs leaders. And so we get the opportunity to teach leadership skills in a lot of different areas, ranging from corporate America to athletics. We work with a bunch of college athletics teams all the way up to some of the major ones you can see behind me in some of the helmets here. And we also do a lot of work in the nonprofit space. And so we get every day, man, I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed. Like, I get to travel with some of my best friends that are my business partners and people that are involved in my company. And we get to have workshops and deliver keynote addresses and spend time with people that are committed to being in the arena of life and making this world a better place, man. And that's through leadership skills. And so I'm extremely blessed and extremely fortunate to have the life that I have and have been able to build this company and do what I do now, man.
All right. I'm definitely trying to get on your level, right? As a speaker, I'm kind of just starting into speaking outside of the church, right? Mm-hmm. So speaking outside of the church, so I'm kind of just really getting started in the schools and things like that. But definitely looking to be, on your level, to do what you're doing and to be able to go to all these different places. And so a little bit of before we get. No, I'll wait on that, because I was going to start asking you questions about the academy. But I'll wait on that. So what I want you to do, David, do me a favor, and I'm trying not to call you David. Right after I said, okay, you just said no government. Okay, so Coach, do me a favor. Let's go back a little bit, right? Because I can just hear the passion and, as you're speaking it for the work that you do, right? And so I know when there's a passion like that, it's usually a deep-rooted passion. It's just not something that you just, got out of a book and say, okay, read the brochure lines, you know what I'm saying? But it's something that's dear to you. And so do me a favor, take me back to, the younger David, and who he was, and what was that thing that happened in your life that made you say, you know what, I'm going to change my life, and then now I'm going to spend it not only walking these principles myself, but now I'm going to start teaching these principles to other people.
Man, it's so crazy you ask it like that, because our company mantra is built, not born, right? That's what we say. That's our whole slogan. That's what we build everything around. And when I look back in my own life, now that I'm older and now that I'm doing what I'm doing now, I can look at it and it's almost like walking down a hallway and each chapter is a door, right? And I'm able to look in and see, oh, this set me up for this. Okay, there's where this lesson came from. Yeah. And going all the way back, man. So starting at the beginning of that hallway, I got the best gift that anybody could ever be given. And I know a lot of people will scratch their heads when I tell you what the gift is, but I was born to a single mother and I never met my biological father. And so I was an African-American baby born to a white woman, and I never met my father. And so most people will be like, hold up, that's a gift? And I'm like, absolutely, man, because I got to watch somebody lead with love my whole life. I got to watch what grit looks like and what resiliency looks like. And I got to see that firsthand, right? And so that was the first chapter. And then my mom got remarried and she married my brother's father, and he struggled with a drug addiction. And so now I became the man of the house again at 10 years old, 11 years old. And so there's another chapter, right, where now I learned how to become emotionally intelligent, because I had to figure out what his energy was when he came in the room. I had to learn how to read the adults in the room and be able to know, am I in protector mode right now, or can I let my defenses down, right? And so there's all these chapters that lead to who I was. And so, after my brother's father finally left the picture, we moved in with my grandmother and another chapter started, man. And I got the opportunity to be in a stable home, and I was we used to live in town. So I was used to running the streets and doing the thing, and then we moved in with my grandmother out in the country, and I got the opportunity to become a part of a community that was literally based on God, family, and football. I mean, that's what we are. There's a sign outside my hometown that says God, family, football. And so I was indoctrinated into that culture, and I got the opportunity to learn structure and learn discipline and learn how to put the work in. And I got to be part of a really great athletic program around really great coaches that acted like my father and that stepped in and helped raise me. And so that gave me the opportunity to go to college and play college football. Now, here's where the story gets interesting, because when I got to college, see, I was a typical Friday night sob story. I was highly recruited as a junior, blew my knee 3 days before my senior season started. But remember, I was from a single parent household, so I had a decision to make. I could either play on that knee and hope that nobody found out and the scholarship offers kept coming, or I could sit out the whole year and probably lose the scholarship offers. But I was coming from a single parent household, so I had to play, because the only way I was going to college was if I was playing football. So I played, and I ended up at a smaller school. But when that happened, man, I became so angry. And so all those years that I avoided the victim mentality, when I got to college, I became a victim. And I started to let myself slip into that. And I was angry, and I acted out. And I was a nightmare off the field, man. And I was fortunate to have lunch with my college coach way later. This was probably when I was 29, 28, when I had lunch with him. And I asked him, why didn't you kick me off the team? Like, you should have kicked me off the team, man. I was a nightmare. And he said, Kitch, you needed football more than football needed you, man. We had to keep you. And so they did, man. And they kept me for 2 years. And then I got medically disqualified because I blew my knee again. And so that set me on this path of trying to figure out, who am I without football? Who am I now? Because now there was no more hiding from it, right? Now it was really gone. And so I had to really do some soul searching and figure out who was David Kitchen and who was I beyond the sport. And so that led me to start to get my grades together a little bit, start to do a little bit better in school. I graduated, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And my family and everybody was telling me, leave athletics behind, move on, go do something else. And I was like, all right. So I got into IT sales. And so I started selling cloud solutions to small businesses, and I was making money, but I was miserable, man. I was miserable. And I remember I was at a Christmas party, and we had just got our Christmas bonuses as sales reps. And so, everybody's enjoying themselves. They're drinking scotch, smoking cigars, having a blast, man. And we're in the middle of Pennsylvania. I went outside, and it's wintertime, and it's freezing cold. And I'm out there, and I'm looking through the window, and I see everybody in there having a good time. And I'm just like, man, that is not success to me. Like, that's not the future that I want. Like, that's not it for me. And so from there, I tried to figure out what I wanted to do next. Well, I had been volunteering at a local high school coaching football, and I fell in love with it, man. I love the game, and I had a new love for the game. It was different this time. It was a pure love. It wasn't an ego love like it was the first time. It was a pure love for the game and a love for helping other people fall in love with the process the way I did. And so what I did, man, is I went to my kitchen table, and I got out a stack of envelopes and a notebook paper, and I wrote a letter to every Division I school on the East Coast. And I said, I'll quit my job and come work for you for free if you just give me an opportunity to coach. And I was very fortunate, man. I got an opportunity at Robert Morris University to come in as a strength and conditioning intern. And so I was working in the weight room. I was older than all the other interns. Everybody else was like a sophomore, junior in college. I was a year and a half out of school at this point. So they're like, who is this old dude and what is he doing? Little did they know, man, flash forward 2 years, I became the youngest head strength coach in all of NCAA. And it launched me on a 10-year career that, got me the opportunity to be in big time college football, Division I college football. I got to experience Division I college basketball, the big show. And it was just an unbelievable experience, man. But again, I say all that to say, all those chapters of my life led up to what I'm doing now. Like I can pick out pieces of how I coach and how I speak and how I write my books and how I consult with companies. And I can pick pieces of them and be like, this is where I learned this lesson along my journey. And so, I'm very fortunate to be able to do what I do. And I say all the time, man, nothing in my life happened to me. It all happened for me.
Right, man. You read my mind, right? So in where I am now, in the space that I am in my life now, the last three 3-4 years has been like a whole almost a 360, not necessarily the whole 360 because a lot of things are still in place, but definitely a turn in things that I'm doing. 3 years ago I didn't have a podcast. 3 years ago I wasn't speaking, outside of the church realm, just a lot of different things. And one of the things that I've been saying lately, because of just looking back over the 3 years, which kind of started from everything kind of started after I got divorced, and it had nothing to do with my marriage. It just was that time, and that was the event that sent me on the same journey that you were. Like, okay, who am I now? Because my kids is grown. COVID happened and shut our church down. Then I ended up going through a divorce, and so now I'm in this space where I'm asking that same question, like, okay, who am I now? Who am I without the church? Who am I without the marriage? Who am I, without my kids? And found myself in that same space. And fast forward, 3-4 years now with everything that I have now, everything that's going on. And I say the same thing, like, what? I don't even care what happens to me, because I know it's happening for my good, right? Because the Bible said all things happen for the good of those that love the Lord. And I'm like, dude, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the track record. It's just been one thing after another. And even those things that started or could be looked at as a negative has been turned into a positive, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, hey, whatever comes, because I know eventually is working for my good. So, but I want to go back a little bit more though, because you said a couple things that definitely hit a chord with me, right? So one of the things that you said was, and I'm gonna say it this way: the gift of being fatherless, right? Yeah. And I definitely hear what you say. You say that, and then people be like, "How is that a gift?" But I remember back when I was younger, my sisters growing up used to listen to country music, right? And there's one song, I don't even know who's singing. I know it's a guy, but the one song, and in the song, the hook was, one of God's greatest gifts is unanswered prayers, right? And
Garth Brooks, man, that's Garth Brooks.
I don't know. I don't even know who he is. I know the song, right? I know the song. But, so you're familiar with the song, but it was in that same thing. Like, we're praying for things, we're asking for things, and sometimes God doesn't bless us to get it. But little do we know, it's because we don't get it that he sets us up for success. And so definitely, I come from a 2-parent household, generations of 2-parents households, that I come from. And so that's like the ideal, that's the ideal. You want to come from a 2-parent household, but sometimes because of what God has in store for you, where he has for you to go, that wasn't a part of your journey, right? And actually that may have been the first key and the first step of setting you on the direction that you're going right now. You know what I mean? And so I think sometimes, I've learned some time ago that there's a law, I want to say it's called the law of polarity, which is there's nothing that's all good or nothing that's all bad, but it's a yin and yang, right? It's the two sides to everything. And so even in our worstest states, we can find ourselves being in finding the good in it. There's something good that's going to come out of it. And even in our best estates, we can find some things that's not so good about it, even though it starts off as a good thing. Like we say, if you give your kid a car, buy your kid a car when they're like 12 years old, that might not be the best thing. It sounds like a blessing, you know what I mean? But that blessing might actually hurt them more than help them, And so I definitely want to hit on that, because that's one of the things that I talk about, right? So if you follow the podcast of how we even got started, I was in the realm of, I started an Instagram page called Friend to Fatherless Daughters, in which I talk to a lot of fatherless daughters, usually adult fatherless daughters. And one of the things that I talk to them about, which I want to get into the next point, is that, making sure that there are positive role models and father figures in the lives of your children, especially your sons, but your daughters too, but making sure you have those role models. And so, like you said, even with the coaches that played a part in your life, and I like what you said, and I'm going to turn around and say it a little different, but you said they kept you to keep you, right? Mm-hmm. They kept you on a team in order to keep you, because if they had kicked you off, they might have lost you altogether. Yep. But it takes a man, a coach, father figure who's paying attention enough to know, you know what, maybe he, maybe he is not the model player. Maybe he does have some things that's going on, but even with that, even in the midst of that, he needs this, right? And it's bigger than football. You know what I mean? So the whole thing of not just saying, okay, he's not a benefit to the team because he's not going to help us win, so we'll just get rid of him. But like, no, we're going to keep him on the team because he needs the team more than the team needs him. We might need another player to help us win, win these games, but he needs this team to help him to win in life. And so it takes a coach to be able to, be paying attention enough to taking out the time with even you. And I'm sure that even though that same thing is in you when you're teaching and reaching out to the kids that you come across, in the leadership academy now, because you have that same eye, because that eye saw you in your time of need. You know what I mean? And so when you're even, just as an example, I guess you could say, when you're even talking to some of those kids that in the space where you were, to even as an adult to admit, you know what, I probably should have been off the team because my attitude sucked, and you know what I mean? But so you catch those kids now with that same mindset. What are some of the things that you begin to work with them with in the leadership academy to kind of change their mindsets to get them on the right track like your coaches did for you?
Man, it's so true that you say that. Like, throughout my entire time as a college coach, I used to love working with the kids that the coaches would call a lost cause, right? Like, I love that. Like, I was like, give them to me, send them to me, because I see me, I see you, and that was the conversation I was able to say and able to have with them is, hey, I see you. And I know on the surface you're doing this, but I know underneath there's a lot more underneath that. Whether it's sadness, whether it's disappointment, whether it's fear, whether it's shame, guilt, there's something going on under there, and we're going to get to it, right? And so one of the things that I always said as a coach to these kids, man, is like, when they would come in and they have these bad attitudes or whatever, it was always, you're not going to outwill me. I'm going to keep loving you. It doesn't matter what you do. I'm going to keep I'm still going to be here, man. Like, you can push me off, you can push me back, you can do all these things. I'm still going to be here with a hand out to help you. When you're ready, I'm here, right? And so I built relationships with those players over the years, and I built connection. And so now when I get the opportunity to work with people who might be in that space and might be kind of in that victim mentality and that self-sabotage mentality, it's helping them to take a step back and stop judging what's going on in their life, right? Because the thing is this, emotions are information, not instructions, right? So let me say that again. Emotions are information, not instructions. Most of us take emotions as instructions. We get angry, we flip somebody the bird in traffic. We get sad, we eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's. You know what I'm saying? Like, we take it as like A plus B equals C. It's not. It's just telling you that something should have your attention. It's telling you that something is garnering, some sort of response from you. And so the first thing that I try and help people do is to take a step back and stop judging things and say to yourself, is this a bad movie or is this one bad scene? Right? Because there's a big difference. There's a big difference. So once you can take that step back and you can remove your emotional attachment to momentary results, then you can start to move forward. Right. And so, but a lot of times what the problem is we're self-sabotaging. And so it's walking people through their thought process of, hey, okay, so and we'll just use a college football player as an example, right? Coach doesn't like me, so he demoted me to second team. So now I'm not going to try hard in practice because he doesn't like me. So why should I try hard? Well, if by you not trying hard in practice, what are you guaranteeing? That you're not going to play. What are you mad about in the first place? Because you're not playing. So now what you're doing is you're becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you're promising that you're not going to play. So you're trying to hurt him by hurting yourself. Right? That doesn't make any sense. And that's the realization that you need to come to. And that's the realization that I had to come to, right? Is that I'm trying to hurt the world by hurting myself. That doesn't make any sense, right? I'm upset because of these things. And so I'm going to punish myself, and I'm going to keep myself from being able to share my gifts with the world because of something else, right? And it goes back, man. One of my favorite quotes is about the hero and the villain, right? The hero and the villain have the same backstory. The hero was hurt by the world, and he said, I'm never going to let the world hurt anybody else. The villain was hurt by the world, and he said, I'm going to make the world feel my pain, right? So you got to decide who are you going to be. And so part of that, man, is just realizing that you're choosing it. You're choosing where you're at. You're choosing how you feel. You're choosing how you respond to things. Everything that happened to you might not have been your fault. It probably wasn't. For most of these people, it wasn't your fault. Now, if you're a grown man and you're still holding on to something from 92, like we got to talk, right? But but for the majority of people, like there's things that happen in your life that's not your fault. How you respond to it, that's your responsibility. That's on you, right? And so it's being able to take a step back and understand that you're choosing and then start to make decisions from there.
Yeah, and I like that, and that's one of the things that I say too when I'm talking to different people about their situations, right? And I say it this way: it's not your fault, but it's your fight, right?
Amen.
Yep. Because sometimes we go through things and we're in situations that we didn't put ourselves in, but we got to fight our way out. You know what I mean? We can't just stay there, you know.
It's understanding too. It's understanding the difference between a situation and a destination, right? Is this a temporary situation or is this a permanent destination? So it's deciding which one is it.
Yeah, like this is a part of your journey. It's not the end of the journey. You know what I mean? Like it don't stop right here with this incident that you're in the midst of. But now that you're here, what are you gonna do about it? You know, and I oftentimes talk about, you know, when you talked about destination, you know, if we talk about Joseph in the Bible, and I'm talking a lot about the Bible, so but we talk about Joseph in the Bible, and I always say Joseph can make it to the palace without going to the prison. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why he came to the palace out of the prison, right? And he couldn't make it to the prison before the pit, and he didn't make it to the pit until his brothers threw him in there. You know what I mean? So that was all incidents that happened in his life, but that wasn't his final destination. You know, the pit wasn't his final destination. The prison wasn't his final destination. His final destination was the palace, but he had to go through all that in order to get there, right? And so even in and if you know his story, everywhere he went, he gave his best, he gave his all, and he changed the whole situation around. He ended up being like one of the top guys in the prison, and he was a prisoner. Like, how we do that? You know what I mean? But as he found out, look, it's not my fault that I'm in this situation, right? That my guy, his wife lied on me. They threw me in prison. Now I'm here, so it's not my fault, but it's my fight. What am I going to do now that I'm here? And we got to have that same mindset that he had when we talk about mindset of looking at our situation and say, okay, what can I do now in the midst of this situation to turn it around so that it all works for my good? You know, and so that's how we got to do. So I have a question that I meant to ask you earlier about the academy. Mm-hmm. So is the academy only for boys and it's only in the realm of sports, or is it open?
No, man, we do work with everybody. We do work with everybody. We work with everything from high school kids all the way up to like 8 and 9 figure CEOs. I mean, we work with absolutely everybody, and we try to make sure that we're giving people the tools that they need, right? That's the most important piece for us. So yeah, no, it's not just sports. It's not just business. It's not just nonprofit. I mean, we do a little bit of everything for everybody.
Yeah. And I know that in the midst of you guys, again, you're doing everything, you're working with everybody. So there has to be some implementation of some kind of systems, you know, putting systems in place that works for everybody. And I think that's a big deal, especially with some of these kids, because they have no direction, they have no structure. And so having those systems put in place to say, okay, this is how we're going to do things, and definitely coming from your background as a kid in sports is all about systems. You know what I mean? And so like, this is how we're going to put things together. We're going to line things up, you know, to make sure that we get the outcome that we're looking for. So in your expertise, as you're working with, you know, some of the CEOs and some of the adults that you're working with, what are some of the systems or you know, implementations that you give them that you probably can give to my listeners right now, just to kind of start them on that journey? Like, okay, if you can do 1, 2, and 3, you at least on the start to where you're trying to get to.
Man, we start every single person, whether they're a kid or an adult, we start them all with the same thing, and it's figuring out their 5 C's. Right. So we have 5 C's to leadership, and we always start with the first one, which is character. So that's the one I'm going to hit on for your listeners right now, because this is the key to it all. Right. So in fitness, we say you can't out train a bad diet. Right. in leadership and in life, you can't outrun bad character. Eventually is going to show up and it's going to impact things. And so the number one thing that we do to help people and to start getting clear on who they are and what they want is to help them define their vision, their mission, and their values in life, right? And so the way that I break this down is if you think about if you're standing at the base of a mountain and you're looking up at the peak of the mountain, all right, at the peak of that mountain is your vision. That's what you want ultimately when it's all said and done. That's where you want to go at the end of your life, right? So for me personally, my vision is to leave a legacy for my family to be proud of. That's the biggest thing for me. Now that draws from my personal values, right? And so should draw from your experiences. I didn't have a father. So for me, it's important for my kids, my grandkids, my nieces, nephews, all those things to be able to look at pictures of me and say, hey, we're proud that that dude was part of our family. Like that's my legacy, right? And so I look at that and I say, okay, that's where I want to get to. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with a mission that I can do every single day, that if I do this one thing, just one thing, but if I do this every day, it becomes really, really unlikely that I'm not going to get to the top of that mountain. It becomes statistically hard to fail if I do this one thing. And so the one thing for me is to inspire the best version of everybody that I come in contact with. So if I inspire greatness in everybody that I touch throughout a day, from the 7-Eleven clerk to the Uber driver, to the audience that I'm speaking to the CEO that I'm coaching, to everybody, if I do that, then I know that ultimately over time, I'll leave a legacy for my family to be proud of, right? And that legacy isn't going to be financial. It's not going to be business. It's going to be through all the people that I impacted, right? And so now I have this mission and I have this vision. So I know what's at the top of the mountain. I now have a map of how to get up the mountain. But here's where people go wrong. When you start out on that journey and you start chasing your vision in life, there's going to be a lot of things along the way that are going to try and tear you down and send you back down the mountain. There's going to be adversity. There's going to be storms. There's going to be people trying to grab your ankles and pull you back down because they don't like to see you grow. There's going to be dead bodies of people that tried but couldn't make it. There's going to be distractions and temptations to do things the wrong way and there's going to be signs that say shortcut that's actually leading you off a cliff. I mean, there's going to be all these things. And so you got to have something that will keep you safe on the journey, right? And that thing that's going to keep you safe is your values. It's the things that are in your life non-negotiable, right? And so people say, what do you stand for, right? That's what people say when they talk about value. Yeah. I don't like that because here's my thing. If you're standing on the right track, you could be on the right track, but if you're just standing, you're still going to get run over when the train comes. And so I ask people, what do you fight for? What are the things that you fight for in your life that are non-negotiable, that are something that are going to be with you at all times? Right? These are the things that if you get off the path, they can get you back on the path, right? So if somebody came into my life and they say, Kitch, you're no longer an author, you're no longer a coach, you're no longer a speaker, you're no longer any of these things, right? What would I do to rebuild my life? Those are your values. And so when I look at it, I say, first and foremost, I'm honest. That's my number one value. I'm always going to be honest with people. And so I look at it and I say, okay, within the first couple conversations of talking to somebody, if I see that there's a relationship there, I'm going to look them in the eye. And I genuinely do this. I look people in the eye and I say, I will never lie to you. And then I don't say anything. I just pause for a second. Just let it breathe. Just let them take in the gravity of what I just said to them. Right now, that comes with responsibility, right? Because it means I'm not the friend to ask. Don't ask me if those jeans make you look fat. Right, because I'm gonna give it to you real. I'm gonna tell you the truth, right? And if you're one of my boys, don't ask me if you're messing up because I'm gonna give it to you straight. If you don't want to hear it, don't ask me, right? So I have my honesty. That's gonna be one of my shields, man. That's gonna keep me safe on the journey. I can be honest with people. Number two, I'm caring. I genuinely care about people. I want to see other people win. I want to see as many people win because here's the thing: the more people I see win, the more I win. And the more we all win and everybody gets better. It's the best way to go about it right now. Do I get burned by that? Absolutely. There's times where people burn me, but I'm okay with that. I'm not going to let the world dictate how I show up. Right? Number three, I'm driven. I'm not going to be outworked. It's just that plain and simple. I found that out when I was a coach, right? I didn't have all the background that everybody else had, but the difference was I was willing to get up at 3:00 in the morning. The difference was I was willing to sleep in the office. The difference was I was willing to go get a master's degree in exercise science and sports psychology at the same time. Like that difference to me is what's going to help me get up the mountain. That's going to help me get through those hard parts is that I'm driven. And then the last one is that I'm committed to growth. no matter what. I don't want to be perfect. I got no interest in being perfect. I'm interested in being a little bit less wrong than I was yesterday. I'm interested in being a little bit better than I was yesterday. So once you have this vision, this mission, and this set of values, now you're ready to go up the mountain. Now you're ready to start climbing, because all those things that we talked about, right? People grabbing at your ankles, the distractions, the temptations, none of that stuff's going to affect you, because all you got to do is you just got to ask yourself, before I do this, whatever it is, whether it's having a conversation with somebody, going to dinner with someone, eating something, staying up late, doesn't matter. You just ask, does this bring me closer to my vision? Yes or no? Does it allow me to fulfill my mission? Yes or no? Does it align with the values that I represent? Yes or no? If it's not 3 yeses, just don't do it. Right? So now you stay on the path. You're on the path. Your decisions make themselves. You don't got to overthink anything ever. Right? You just go. And so once you have that, man, that's the power. That's the power of it. And the really powerful thing comes when you start to take a step back and look at the big picture, and you say, okay, when I put those 3 things together, my vision, my mission, and my values, what I want them to be is that when I pass on from this world, wherever we go, I want the church to be full. I want there to be a line out the door, standing room only. But I want that first person to stand up, walk to the microphone. I want them to say, Kitch left a legacy for his family to be proud of. He inspired greatness in everybody that he came across. He was honest. He was caring. He was driven. He was committed to growth. If they say that, then from wherever I'm watching from, I know I became the man I wanted to be. So if you're somebody that's looking to start, that's where you start. You figure out your vision, your mission, and your values, and then you just go to work.
Love it, love it, love it. And I'm just going to interject this, right? Because you were talking about the making the decisions. And so the way that I talk about it, and it's similar to yours in different language, but I talk about decisions and choices. And I say your decisions are definite and choices are conditional, right? So first, like you ask, what's your mission? So I ask, what's your decision? What is that thing that you're going to stand on that doesn't change no matter what, right? And so I always give the analogy of someone that's in a relationship. And your decision is, I'm going to be committed and faithful in this relationship. So that doesn't change no matter what. So now your choices, when you go out into the world, you're going to be faced with choices. You're going to be faced, should I go to this club? Should I talk to this girl? Should I, reciprocate when someone comes try to talk to me? And so because your decision doesn't change, then you just evaluate your choices on how they align with your decision. So when you're, faced with the choice of, that's a nice looking young lady right there. Should I go over there and talk to her? Well, what's the choice? The choice is, should I go or should I not go? Well, how does that line up with my decision? My decision says I remain faithful. And I know if I go there, that's going to lead me away from my decision, right? And so now the choice is already made. When I made the decision, the choice was already made. I just had to make sure that my choices align with my decisions. And that's how I talk about choices and decisions, to help people stay on the right, in the right path, in that right lane. So David, I definitely appreciate you being on, man. I want you to have the last word, right? I want you to have the last word. I want you to leave us with a word of advice, word of support, or something like that for our listeners, and definitely let us know where you can. Where we can follow you, where we can, work with you. And also you mentioned about that you mentioned about being an author, definitely leave us some information talk to us a little bit about your books. So I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that. To my listeners, man, thank you guys for continuing to come in and listen to the Deal to Heal podcast. Make sure that you guys are checking us out on our websites, our main website, which is dealhealfulfill.org website, where you can go there and find more stuff about what I have going on as an individual, as well as what we have going on as a company, to have me come out as a speaker, to do workshops, even to get some of the products that we have available, right? Because we got ebooks, as well as some other things. You guys can go there, check it all out at dealhealfulfill.org. Make sure you guys go there to check that out, as well as check out our inspirational t-shirt lines, our inspirational tees, as well as our podcast merch that is also there. We have podcast tees with our different podcasts that's on our podcast network. that we can have them there on with our Deal to Heal tees, where you can get the podcast merch also. So you want to go to deal2healtees.com, deal2healtees.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. So make sure you guys go and check that out. And then also make sure you go to ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. We talked a little bit earlier about if you want to start your own podcast, that you can get the ebook of Start Your Podcast Now, which is available there. But we also have other ebooks. We have an ebook called the 4 Core, which is the 4 core values that every daughter should get from her father. We also have a book called From Males to Men, which is a male mentoring book for young men that is also there, and some other ebooks too. So go to ebooksbyejames.com in order to check that out, right? So one thing that I'm really blessed to be a part of, an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops every quarter of the year talking about forgiveness, what it is, what it's not, what it means to forgive, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, just everything around the space of forgiveness. And these workshops are virtual, so you can watch it on your phone. You can take it on your laptop, and they are 100% free. So make sure you guys go to forgivenessmission.com or just go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Workshop that's held by the Forgiveness Mission in order so that you can take part in the next virtual workshop they will have. So again, they're every quarter. I think right now we're about to even go to every other month. So whenever you're listening to this podcast, either one is coming up or one just ended. Right. So just go to forgivenessmission.com. And if you can't find it there, just go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Workshop and you will find us there. Last but not least, I told you guys that I would tell you how you could win $100 from the podcast. You can win $100 from the podcast by subscribing, by joining our super subscriber contest, which means you must subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Facebook page, and to our podcast on Spotify. Then text the word WIN, W-I-N, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win $100. It's an ongoing contest and it's random. So once you're in, you can always win. You don't never have to re-up. Again, that's subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Facebook page, and to our podcast on Spotify. Then text the word WIN, W-I-N, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win $100 from the podcast. Mr. David, once again, I want to say thank you, man, for being on. Thank you for dropping in. I love talking to you. Love your story and your energy and the passion that you have for what you do. And I can tell it's just radiating up out of you, man. And I definitely appreciate it. So I want you to have the last word. So the floor is yours.
Man, thank you so much for having me. First off, man, I love the fact that you built this platform, having conversations that people need to have, man. I think that's so important, especially as men of color, right, to be the ones leading the charge and being the change. Really appreciate that, man. So from one brother to another, man, thank you. But you know, from a last word standpoint, you know, the thing that I always try and leave people with is that, like, leadership is simple, man. We all talk about leadership like it's this complicated thing, and you know, it pays my bills, so I guess I shouldn't give away the secret sauce, but I'm gonna. Hey, leadership is simple, man. It comes down to being somebody worth following, that's going somewhere worth going for a reason that matters. That's all it takes, man. That's all it takes. And the best way to do that is to just be who you needed, right? Be the friend you needed, be the father you needed, be the brother you needed, mother, sister, community member, etc. Just be who you needed, man. That's the key to it all. So from a last word standpoint, that's what I want to leave everybody with, man, is be somebody worth following, going somewhere worth going for a reason that matters. That's what the world needs. If you're looking to connect with me, I'm on every social media at Coach D Kitch, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, X, all of them, man. It's all the same. It's all at Coach D Kitch. Our website is edgeleadershipacademy.com. We do have openings for fall events. So if you're looking to bring somebody in to work with your school, work with your youth team, work with your high school team, whatever, that's what we do, man. So get in touch with us. If you have a nonprofit group, all those things, we're always looking for opportunities to come out in the communities and make a difference. And then lastly, if you're looking for our books, if you're looking for any of the books or the literature, some of them are available on our website. The other one, our most popular book, which is The Pyramid, System for Building Tomorrow's Leaders Today, that's available on Amazon. You can just search my name or search The Pyramid, a system for building leaders, and that'll come right up for you, man. And then other than that, brother, we got the Finish Friday newsletter that goes out every Friday. It's free. It comes directly from me. I write it like I'm writing a text message to a friend, man. So if it's easy reading, but it's something to get you going through your Friday and help you finish the week strong, man. So other than that, brother, I'm so fortunate to be able to connect with people like you and do what I do on a daily basis and get to wake up every day and try and help people, man. And so again, just super thankful to you for having me on here tonight.
No problem. No problem. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. So until next time, you guys be blessed. Hey guys, I know you're enjoying the podcast. However, don't forget to join our text line at 866-326-0730. That's 866-326-0730 in order to receive text messages with new events and things that is going on and new episodes as they release. All right, see you in a minute. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.